lifestyle inflation is silent. It doesn't feel like a mistake. It feels like progress. And that's exactly why it quietly destroys long-term wealth. Hi everyone, my name is Max. If this video is useful and interesting for you, make sure to like and subscribe. On this channel, we talk about finance calmly, rationally, and without hype, so you can build real wealth without unnecessary stress. When people start earning more money, they expect their financial life to improve automatically. A higher salary should mean more savings, more investments, more security. But in reality, something else often happens. Expenses rise together with income. A better apartment replaces a modest one. A new car replaces a reliable old one. Vacations become more expensive. Subscriptions multiply. Daily habits quietly adjust to a higher standard. This process is called lifestyle inflation. At first, it feels deserved. You worked harder. You developed new skills. You earned that raise. So upgrading your life seems logical. And in moderation, it is. The problem is not spending more. The problem is when spending grows at the same speed, or faster, than income. Let's look at a simple example. Imagine someone earns $3,000 per month and saves $500. After a few years, they increase their income to $5,000 per month. In theory, they could now save $2,500 monthly if they kept their lifestyle stable. But instead, they move to a more expensive apartment, lease a new car, upgrade their wardrobe, and increase dining expenses. Now they save only $700. Technically, they are better off. But financially, their progress is minimal compared to their potential. The hidden cost here is opportunity cost. Every additional dollar spent on recurring lifestyle upgrades is a dollar not invested. And when you consider compound growth over 10, 20, or 30 years, the difference becomes enormous. An extra $1,000 invested monthly at a reasonable long-term return can grow into hundreds of thousands over decades. But once that money becomes part of your fixed expenses, reversing it feels like a downgrade. And this is where lifestyle inflation becomes dangerous. It raises your baseline. Your new standard becomes normal. What once felt luxurious becomes expected. This psychological shift makes it extremely difficult to reduce expenses later. Cutting back no longer feels neutral, it feels like losing something. There's also a subtle emotional trap involved. Social comparison intensifies as income grows. When you start earning more, you often enter new social environments where higher spending is common. Colleagues dine at expensive restaurants. Friends talk about property investments, designer brands, and international trips. Without noticing it, your perception of normal shifts again. Now maintaining your financial discipline requires more awareness than before. Lifestyle inflation doesn't usually destroy wealth dramatically. It doesn't create headlines. Instead, it slowly erodes your ability to build freedom. You remain dependent on your current income level because your expenses have expanded to match it. Losing a job becomes riskier. Changing careers feels harder. Taking entrepreneurial risks becomes less realistic. In other words, higher income increases your earning power, but lifestyle inflation increases your financial pressure. True financial progress happens when income grows faster than lifestyle. When raises translate into higher savings rates rather than higher obligations, wealth starts compounding in the background. Over time, this creates flexibility, and flexibility creates options. The hidden cost of lifestyle inflation is not just money, it is lost optionality. It is the quiet trade of future freedom for present comfort. And most people don't even realize they made that trade. Lifestyle inflation becomes more dangerous when it transforms from occasional upgrades into permanent obligations. A one-time purchase rarely changes your financial trajectory. Recurring commitments do. The moment higher income turns into higher fixed monthly expenses, flexibility begins to shrink. There is a critical difference between variable spending and fixed lifestyle expansion. Buying a more expensive dinner once a month is not the same as signing a long-term lease for a luxury apartment. Upgrading your phone occasionally is different from financing a vehicle that locks you into multi-year payments. The risk increases when your future income becomes responsible for sustaining today's decisions. Fixed expenses create pressure, and pressure changes behavior. When your cost of living rises significantly, your tolerance for uncertainty decreases. You become less willing to change jobs, relocate, experiment with business ideas, or even take calculated risks in your career. You may stay in roles you dislike simply because your financial commitments demand stability. The irony is clear: higher income was supposed to increase freedom, but lifestyle inflation can quietly reduce it. Consider two professionals earning the same $8,000 per month. The first keeps core expenses at $3,500 and invests the rest. The second expands their lifestyle to $7,000 in monthly expenses. On the surface, both appear successful. They may drive similar cars and live in similar neighborhoods. But internally, their financial positions are radically different. One is building assets and resilience. The other is building dependency on continued high income. This is where the concept of financial margin becomes important. Margin is the gap between what you earn and what you spend. That gap is not just savings, it is breathing room. It protects you during downturns. It allows you to negotiate career decisions from a position of strength. It gives you time, and time is often more valuable than money itself. Lifestyle inflation reduces margin. What makes it especially deceptive is that many upgrades feel justified individually. A better neighborhood for safety, a more comfortable car for convenience, higher quality clothing for professionalism. None of these choices are inherently wrong. The issue appears when they accumulate without intentional limits. There is also a neurological aspect to consider. Humans quickly adapt to improved conditions. What once produced excitement becomes normal within weeks or months. This phenomenon, often called hedonic adaptation, means that higher spending does not produce long-term increases in happiness proportional to its cost. You pay permanently for benefits that emotionally fade. For example, the emotional impact of moving into a larger apartment may feel significant at first, but after 6 months, the novelty disappears. The higher rent remains. Your monthly cash flow permanently adjusts. The same pattern applies to cars, luxury items, and even lifestyle services. Meanwhile, invested capital behaves differently. Its benefits may not be emotionally visible every day, but it compounds. It accumulates quietly. It increases future security without requiring additional maintenance. Another hidden dimension of lifestyle inflation is expectation drift. As your environment upgrades, so do your standards. You may begin to define success by visible consumption rather than by asset growth. This subtle shift can redirect your financial focus away from long-term wealth building toward short-term status signaling. The more your identity becomes connected to your lifestyle, the harder it becomes to scale it back. Intentional living does not mean avoiding improvement. It means separating meaningful upgrades from automatic escalation. It means deciding consciously which areas of life deserve expansion and which should remain stable despite income growth. A powerful strategy is to pre-commit to saving a percentage of every raise before it reaches your spending habits. For example, if you receive a 20% salary increase, you might automatically allocate half of that increase toward investments. This way, your lifestyle can improve gradually while your wealth grows consistently. The key is alignment. Income growth should strengthen your financial foundation, not simply inflate your cost structure. Lifestyle inflation feels like progress because it is visible. Investments feel slow because they are quiet. But long-term financial independence is built on quiet strength, not visible upgrades. When you understand this dynamic clearly, you regain control. Instead of reacting to income increases emotionally, you respond strategically. And that shift, from automatic expansion to intentional allocation, changes everything. One of the most underestimated consequences of lifestyle inflation is how it reshapes your perception of what is necessary. What begins as comfort slowly turns into obligation. Over time, discretionary upgrades transform into fixed expectations, and expectations quietly become psychological needs. The transition is subtle. At first, you choose a better apartment because you can afford it. Later, the idea of moving to something simpler feels like regression. You upgrade to business class once, and economy starts to feel uncomfortable. You begin outsourcing small tasks to save time, and eventually you feel incapable of operating without those conveniences. None of these decisions are catastrophic individually. The issue emerges when the new standard becomes non-negotiable. This is how lifestyle inflation reduces adaptability. Financial resilience depends on flexibility, the ability to adjust spending when necessary. But when your identity and comfort are tied to a certain standard of living, reducing expenses feels like losing status, not making a rational adjustment. And because humans avoid loss more strongly than they pursue gains, cutting back becomes emotionally difficult even when it is logically wise. Now consider how this interacts with income volatility. In many industries, income is not perfectly stable. Bonuses fluctuate, commissions vary, business revenue can rise and fall. When fixed expenses are structured around peak income rather than average income, financial stress increases dramatically during downturns. Instead of viewing lower income as temporary, it becomes a threat to your entire lifestyle structure. This creates a cycle. You earn more, you spend more, you feel pressured to maintain income at all costs. And pressure influences decision-making. People under financial pressure are more likely to accept unfavorable work conditions, delay strategic career changes, or make rushed investment decisions in search of higher returns. Ironically, the desire to sustain an upgraded lifestyle can push individuals toward greater financial risk rather than stability. There is also a compounding effect that works in reverse. When you consistently increase your savings rate as income grows, you build momentum. Investments begin generating meaningful returns. Financial independence starts to become realistic. But when savings remain flat despite rising income, the compounding curve weakens. Years pass, income increases, yet net worth grows slowly relative to potential. The difference between saving 10% of income and saving 30% over a 20-year period is not linear, it is exponential. Small percentage changes early create massive differences later. Lifestyle inflation quietly reduces your ability to leverage this exponential growth. Another overlooked aspect is time allocation. Higher lifestyle costs often require sustained high performance to maintain income. This can lead to longer working hours, higher stress, and reduced personal flexibility. In contrast, maintaining moderate expenses relative to income creates breathing space. You can afford to take strategic pauses, invest in skill development, or explore new opportunities without immediate financial pressure. In other words, controlling lifestyle inflation is not about deprivation. It is about preserving optionality. Optionality means having choices. The option to change industries, the option to relocate, the option to start a business, the option to take a sabbatical, the option to say no to opportunities that do not align with your values. All of these require financial margin. And margin is created when income growth outpaces lifestyle growth. A practical mental model is to treat raises as investment accelerators rather than lifestyle triggers. Instead of asking, "What can I upgrade now?" ask, "How much faster can I build financial independence?" This shift reframes higher income from a consumption opportunity to a strategic advantage. You can still improve your quality of life. The difference lies in proportion and intention. A controlled upgrade in one area combined with disciplined investing in others maintains balance. Automatic escalation in every category does not. Lifestyle inflation feels normal because it mirrors visible success. But real financial strength often looks quiet from the outside. It is reflected not in external upgrades, but in internal security. The people who master this balance rarely appear extreme. They simply allow their assets to grow faster than their expenses. Over years, this gap widens. And in that widening gap lies freedom. Lifestyle inflation does not look dangerous. It looks like success. A better apartment, a newer car, more comfort, more convenience, all of it feels earned. And to some extent, it is. The problem is not improving your life. The problem is allowing every increase in income to permanently increase your obligations. The hidden cost is not just money. It is reduced flexibility, reduced resilience, and reduced freedom. When expenses grow automatically, your financial margin shrinks. And margin is what protects you during uncertainty. It is what allows you to make career decisions calmly instead of reactively. It is what turns income into independence rather than pressure. The solution is simple, but not easy. Let your income grow faster than your lifestyle. Decide in advance how much of every raise goes toward investments. Keep fixed costs stable whenever possible. Upgrade intentionally, not automatically. Small controlled improvements are sustainable. Constant escalation is not. Over time, this discipline compounds. Higher savings rates accelerate asset growth. Growing assets create security. Security creates options. And options create real freedom. Lifestyle inflation is subtle because it happens gradually. But so does wealth building. The difference is direction. One expands expenses quietly. The other expands opportunity quietly. Choose the direction carefully.